Tal'Darim Altar, and our first game is going to be between VVV Murder and LG OG, or Quantic Gaming OG.
Yeah, so Quantic Gaming Odd, Terran versus Protoss game is now getting underway, and I'm hoping for a lot of games to cast this week. Even though I like to see all kills, I also like to cast a lot of games. You never want to cut Wednesday night StarCraft short, as we have Og spawning as the red Protoss player at the 10 o'clock position. Meanwhile, Murder spawning as the purple Terran here at the 2 o'clock position. Relatively closer spawn since it isn't going to be a full cross spawn, but there's still going to be a lot of walking distance in between the two bases.
Yeah, it's a very large map, and we'll probably see a macro game develop here. And I really love PvT on this map. We've seen a lot of great PvTs as this map is getting more and more play now that it's on the ladder and in many tournaments. It's basically the choice if you want to get into a big macro game, and we might get into a late game here featuring high Templar, some ghosts, tier 3 units. Always fun to see these two races on multiple bases. Usually we think of Zerg getting on multiple bases, but when you get Protoss and Terran on 3 and 4 bases, they can be very powerful and a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, one of the things I am concerned about this matchup right now, or at least the positioning, is this natural third base for Murder. Murder is going to have a little bit of a difficult time trying to defend it. There are destructible rocks there, but because of the location of Og will be able to put pressure on the third base and the second base as well. Fortunately for Murder is Terran. He can build his command center down here, lift it off, and try to expand in the 3 o'clock location, and we'll see whether or not that works for him, as we already have a Protoss probe. I'm going to do some scouting, and he should be able to see and what Murder is already up to. Murder is not getting a refinery, so it looks like we're going to have either a lot of Marines or perhaps a fast expansion attempt.
Yeah, talking about the positions a little bit more, I think that Murder might actually have a little bit of an advantage with the way that the positions are here, as the natural of Og is going to be quite susceptible to tank pressure on that low ground. We see a lot of Terrans really taking advantage of that, putting pressure on that natural and making it so their opponent can't mine there for quite a while until they get up enough units to be able to take down the tanks and the Marines, which can be very difficult to mine there. But we see Murder actually not going for much of a tech play at all, probably going for a 1-Rax expand, as his first Marine's going to want to try to shoo away that scout, and Og already pulling back with a probe to live to scout another day.
Yeah, so an SCV now coming out from Murder. Murder is still going to take quite some time to find his opponent. Meanwhile, looking at Og not really showing too much of anything. He does have an assimilator up, no second gas just quite yet, so I believe a Nexus should be coming in soon, as a command center already coming in. So both players are going for the macro style of play, I believe. Actually, are we? No, Og now getting a Stalker up and now getting a Pylon, so it doesn't look like a Nexus will be coming in anytime soon.
And he is chronoing out his first Stalker, so he's going to want to try to deny scouting information. He has yet to put up a second gas, so I imagine the Stalker is going to make its way to the natural, take a few pot shots at that SCV as it tries to make its way in here. And I still think that the Nexus could go down shortly after this SCV does go down. We see a probe getting in position here. He's got enough minerals for it. Is the SCV going to see it, though? It looks like the Stalker, Og doing a nice job meeting that SCV. The SCV will not get any information here, going down in 5 shots from that Stalker, and does not see the Nexus.
Yeah, so that was very important in not seeing the Nexus. He just scouted in the wrong direction, and because he scouted in the wrong direction, he wasn't able to catch that Nexus in time, and now he's pretty much playing in the dark. Murder doesn't know if he's going to be expecting perhaps some 2 or 3 gate pressure, or if his opponent is going to try to expand. He may try to go for a Reaper, as Marines are now putting pressure back on LG Og, or QC Og here, as it is now backing off over there. A little bit of a Marine dance going back and forth, as the Stalker does take a little bit of critical damage, but not much. Down to 72 hit points and 0 shields.
Yeah, if you check Murder's site, he actually had to blow a scan on the main of Og, so costing him about 300 minerals worth of mules there to use that scan, because he was not able to get that SCV in time. And the SCV possibly should have scouted the northwest first after seeing the probe get over to his base so quickly. Usually on this map, just the timing of the enemy scout can tell you where they are positionally. So might have been a little bit of a mistake on Murder's part there. Og about to get up his Nexus here. We'll soon be doing a transfer of probes. If we check the income counting station, it is 28 to 24. So Murder a little bit behind, but he's got his second orbital up, so double mules will be coming shortly.
Yeah, one important thing. Wow, as Murder goes into a third command center, there is no refinery yet. Finally getting some gas at the 6-minute mark in the game, but all he has are Marines. So the Marines are going to be trying to fend off against any Stalker pressure as Stalkers are now coming around the far side. There is already one proxy pylon. And that Guardian Shield is going to essentially make 3 Marines as effective as 2. And Murder might have a little bit of difficulty. He does have 2 bunkers in position. And we'll see if he can hold it off. SCVs should be able to easily come over and start repairing, as there's not enough sentries to really deny the repairing on those bunker with force fields.
Yeah, he's got to keep these Marines in position to keep Og from just going right past these bunkers, as Og is going to try to take them on. And it looks like the one Zealot pulling back there will be taken down, but Murder does not have stim, so he cannot engage out in the open field. He's got to stay on these bunkers, stay very defensive at the moment, and looks like Og is going to go home, perhaps to tech up a little bit, maybe even take his own third. Murder is about complete with his third command center, so he's going to have to take out those rocks. He will find that proxy pylon, hopefully, as well, and then he will be on 3 base shortly.
Yeah, Murder finishing that command center. I'm curious as to where it's going to try to land. I would assume at the 3 o'clock location, as the Marines are going to have a little bit of a difficult time trying to clear out those rocks at what I'll call the 1 o'clock location. The Stalkers did return home and are now trying to take down those destructible rocks. You won't have any problem doing so, as both players are now, I guess, transitioning into a much more longer style game, and we'll see who comes out ahead. The robotics facility already coming into play, meaning that Colossi could be coming in momentarily. A factory is currently being built, but there is no starport yet, no reactor, and we'll see if Murder responds correctly with Vikings, or if he suspects that there perhaps may be High Templars and try to go for Ghosts.
Yeah, actually placing down that factory before starting stim, and I imagine that he might be placing down a starport as well to get medevacs out. So really long delay here on stim training. So if he's going to go for a heavy bio play with all these racks, I imagine he's going to want to get that up and running. It's starting just now. It's going to be almost 3 whole minutes, almost about 12 minutes into this game before stim finishes. So Og has a timing here if he wants to take advantage of it, but I imagine that he will be going for a higher tech here, as we see a Twilight Council going down before he does choose to push out. He's getting up his third as well, and you were right, the 3 o'clock location would be prime there for Murder, as he's got his third orbital command in position.
Yeah, I think Murder will be able to just call down mules into this location rather easily, just mule it out there. Marines and Marauders are finally making a push out. Stim Pack still have quite a way to go, as Marines and Marauders are still being trained. Engineering Bay also being placed down as well, so if he does try to go for Dark Templars, if Og tries to go for Dark Templars, he will have some static detection, as Murder just really needs to be careful at this stage. And now some SCVs making a move out, and I'm not quite sure. Oh, SCVs are being transferred over to the 3 o'clock location, hoping after activating that Zonaga Watchtower to not get scouted out. One observer now making its way into the main base. He will not see the additional expansion, and we'll see how long Murder can really mine off of this expansion here in peace.
Looks like Og does have an observer in the base of Murder, and I really like Og's play here. He's added gateways, he's going to have 7 momentarily, and he's also getting upgrades. He's starting with that ground armor level 1, so combined with Guardian Shield, it's going to be very powerful against the bio play that Murder is using, and he's also getting out a Warp Prism as well as a Dark Shrine, so I imagine we will have DT drops coming in shortly.
Yeah, DT drops always very, very problematic. A missile turret is being built. If enough missile turrets are built, they should be able to shut down that DT drop, as a medevac also joining in the fight over here. Marines and Marauders, medevac unloading here, as we are now perhaps going to have a Warp Prism making its way over. It is not going to be a DT drop. It's going to be a straight DT warp in, as the Marauders and Marines are going to try to push out and deal a little bit of damage. I don't see that many units back over here, so we may get some damage, and it's going to be an exchanging of blows in just a moment.
Yeah, and the Warp Prism and the medevac actually passed in the night there, so I believe that Og saw this coming. He's going to intercept this drop. Not much damage done by Murder, and Og is going to have that Warp Prism. He already warped in 2 DTs. He will be dropping them in the main, and I wonder if Murder actually saw the Warp Prism on his way by there. I imagine he didn't, or else he would not be pushing out now. He's got no forces in his main, and these DTs are set to wreck house. Yeah,
DTs are now going to be coming in. Let's take a look at the worker kills. Already up to 4, 5, 6, 7. What SCVs are already now trying to pull away. The DTs are a little bit slower than those SCVs, but the SCVs are getting a little bit tongue-tied on themselves, and now all the units are going to go ahead and retreat. We can see that Murder already losing 10 workers at this time, as the Dark Templar is now going after very, very critical, expensive buildings. Those reactors take a long time to build. It's going to shut down a lot there. There's one Dark Templar scanner sweep. Another Dark Templar going to run away from that scanner sweep there, and it looks like that Dark Templar will be able to eat up at least one more scanner sweep.
Yeah, so 300 whole minerals every time you do scan, and it looks like a probe sacrificing itself. A few of them at the front of the I'm not sure if this is a misrally by Og, but a number of probes, perhaps doing some scouting, 3 of them going down at the front of Murder's base, and he also has DTs, Og does, in the center of the field at that Xel'Naga tower. So if Murder does push out, the DTs are just going to feast on those low HP Marines, and now we see Murder with a quad drop ready to do a ton of damage to Og if he does not scout this and get in position quickly.
Yeah, the quad drop now making its way in. There is a warp prism over here. It may try to warp in more Dark Templars as well. It will have a little bit of room to maneuver there, but the drop happening first, Murder, and dealing a lot of damage over here. 4 medevacs. So much food now coming in, and now you can see the Marauders and the Marines just making their way in. Dark Templars are warping in. Scanner sweep revealing all of them as well, as the Marines and the Marauders are trying to pull back in time. Og losing a lot of Zealots, and there's just too much damage to be dealt over here. The warp gate cooldown not fast enough to be able to just get any Dark Templars, as both sides just battling it out, and the Marines trying to fight back against the Zealots and the Sentries. The Zealots are not in the Guardian Shield, so they are not getting the benefit of that +2 armor, as a Dark Templar now getting some more damage in. It looks like it will get quickly taken down, and now we have an engagement in the center portion of the map as the Zealots and the Vikings are trying to go deal it out. So both sides dealing a lot of damage to each other, but Og in a little bit of a out of position will not be able to mass up enough forces.
And this is smart of Og, pushing with those Zealots as Murder in this TVP matchup. He's going to have to do a lot more micro with his units, so Og can just A-move in 2 positions here, and Murder's not going to be able to shoot and scoot away from all these forces. It looks like the Zealots were cleaned up at the front of Murder's base, but Murder doing so much damage with this drop. 4 medevacs, all that healing being done, and able to take down these Dark Templar as they do warp in here, and Murder is just wrecking Og's base.
Yeah, Murder doing a great job there. The only benefit that Og right now has is the fact that he has 2 armors. So 2 armor plus that Guardian Shield, 5 armor whenever trying to attack the base damage, but the Marines are upgraded 1-1, so it is kind of nullified a little bit as the Zealots and Probes are still trying to avoid the battlefield. The Zealots are now charging in against the rest of the Marauders and the Marines, and the Marines look like they will be able to finish that off there. And will it be a retreat and a regroup? As a lot of the units are very, very low on hit points. Now stimming back in, and now a front door attack. So it's going to be a 2-part attack here. The Marauders and the Marines pushing in. Og in a bit of trouble as the Marauders and the Marines now trying to do some long distance mining. The Probes just catching them out of position, and another Nexus is going to get taken down. And there's the GG by Og.
Yeah, Og in more than a little bit of trouble there, as the end army value 4,300 to 1,200, and Og having to give the GG. I felt like Og was in control there for a while. He had the DTs up, he was able to do good harassment, but Murder quickly flipped the situation, had that quad drop, all those units in the main, and with the 4 medevacs there, they were just not going down. Og was a little bit slow to react to that, and then he streamed in units a few at a time, trying to warp in 3-4 units at a time, and the stim units of the Terran able to take down those warping in Protoss units very quickly, and a strong game from both players there, but Murder was able to take it out with that brilliant move.
Yeah, I think one of the things that Og wasn't counting on was the availability of scanner sweeps by Murder. Murder having that 3rd hidden expansion, it's an additional scanner sweep every I'm not quite sure how fast it is, but it's pretty quick. So whenever you have 3 command centers just constantly going, when you're trying to handle against Dark Templars or any cloaked unit like that, having those scanner sweeps at your beck and call, being able to shut down those Dark Templars as they're warping in and destroying them was just absolutely critical.